everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here. I basically just need to stop saying that because, I think viewers who watch a lot of our videos would just assume that it would just be me anyway. So, but it's just me here once again to talk about a video game. This is actually going to be my first video game review. I thought, what better game to do it with than a game that I didn't like as much as I wanted to. I'm going to review Detroit Become Human. Now, here's the thing. Basically, this game is about if androids were a part of our society and then they became intelligent and they became like people and they woke up somehow and then they all wanted rights, they all wanted not to be slaves, and that's my problem. The whole game hinges upon you believing what you believe about androids right now. Because I'll tell you, the game did not change my mind. Just because the actors are good at making you cry, just because the writing is good that it makes you cry, doesn't mean that it's going to change your opinion about real life and about androids in general, because there's so many points made in the video game that counter everything that the game wants you to think. I think that if you think androids are partly human, you'll like this game. But if you don't, it's going to be a problem for you because they basically turn it into slavery. And they have, the androids have to sit at the back of the bus. They have, all these slavery parallels and all this imagery that, you see with the civil rights era and blah, 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 blah. And it's just kind of like, ugh. Really? You had the chance to make a video game about androids, and you chose to make a video game about androids, but you chose to make it to where they're slaves and to where it's like a slavery parallel. God, that's so boring and stupid and just kind of ugh, who wants to play that? If they wanted to create a civil rights era game, they could have just done that. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. They could have done it in maybe a smart way where the androids want to rise up and they rise up, do a revolution, whatever. But instead, they make it into this where they're just basically copying reality. And so I just did not like that because I thought I've already learned about all that crap a million times before. I don't need to play that in this android story. Come on. But the thing is that, okay, that's one story. And then there's a story about an android housekeeper named Kara. And she's taking care of this little girl named Alice. And Alice lives with her abusive father, and he's just hilarious. I mean, there's this really funny part where Kara is doing chores and stuff, and in the background you can just hear the dad huffing red ice drugs, and he's going ooh, ooh, ooh. The first time I saw that, I was like, what is he doing? Because the first time I played it, I did not discover the red ice in the laundry room. And And so I was really confused. And I thought like maybe he was masturbating or something. He's just going like, ooh, ooh. That was one of the weirdest moments in game history. And so basically, you could predict what happens. She has to defend Alice, and then they run away together, and it's like a fugitive storyline where they got to get to the to Canada. And, so basically, with that story, it's like the Underground Railroad type of story. So once again, not very original. The thing is, too, with that story, it actually peaks really early. I was really sad, though, because the dad, he was a huge failure, and it made me just kind of think, like, you spent all this money on an android, why didn't you just spend it on bills and on food, and you buy drugs? It's like, it's such a sad situation. But they get to this mansion after they've escaped the house. They get to this mansion, and it is one of the coolest game segments in history. It's basically like if you got trapped in Frankenstein's house. And basically, she gets trapped, she gets pinned up, put in a machine, and she's got to escape, and she's got to free Alice, and the guy that's there is evil, and he likes to torture androids even though they don't feel pain, I guess, which that's kind of like mixed, because sometimes they do feel pain. so I don't know, like, see what I mean? Like, this game is so like flip-floppy with the narrative. It doesn't really have one belief, like, you know what I mean? It has all this inconsistencies everywhere. There's so many questions you could ask from the game that would make the game seem kind of like it would make the game seem bad, because the game raises more questions than it answers. But anyway, this whole sequence is like a horror movie. I mean, it is really frightening. And the first time I played it, I genuinely was scared. And he's got an android assistant. The android is like gigantic. And it was epic. And to be honest, that sequence was the best sequence of her whole story. Like, the rest of her story was like boring. Like, oh no, she's gotta hide things from a police officer inspecting. Oh no, what's gonna happen? Like, that's not intense. That's nowhere near as intense as that. Having to escape from a mansion with a psychopath. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so like weirdly structured, and just does not make sense. And now let's get to the best story, and the story that everyone loves. Connor. Connor is an android sent by the android company CyberLife to investigate deviants. And deviants are, of course, the androids who have, quote, become human, unquote, because we don't know if that's true. But anyways, Connor's story is basically a detective buddy cop movie story with him, and then this washed up, depressed detective played by Clancy Brown. And they basically have to investigate various deviants and either catch them, kill them, or whatever. And it's just so much fun. It's everything I wanted the game to be. It's just a perfect, like, futuristic sort of like action, thriller, adventure. It's epic, and it really is the best story. And everything else pales in comparison to it. But the thing is, though, is that what I was saying was, it really does not answer its number one question, which is, have these androids become human? Because at one point you go to the owner's house, the guy who used to I mean, I got the guy who started CyberLife, I guess, Kampsky, and if you kill the Chloe, which I did in the second playthrough, which I didn't like doing that. I thought that that was kind of queer because, to be honest, I just thought that the guy was bullshitting, and I didn't think the guy knew anything, and so I thought that killing her was a waste of time, even if he did claim to know things. But I asked him about deviants, and he didn't answer me. He literally just said it could be a mutation where they actually have become human, or it could just be a virus. And so we never figure out the answer. So that's my problem, is that the game does not commit, and therefore nothing is satisfying, because you can't be satisfied with the story of they've gotten a successful revolution if you don't think that they're human, or if you don't know they're human. And so I just think that's kind of crappy to me. And speaking of crappy, the Detective Anderson, or I guess Lieutenant Anderson, he's trash. I mean, he's funny. He's a fantastic actor. I love him. I didn't like him in The Promising Young Woman. But anyways, he's not that great of a detective. I mean, there's not really any point in the game where he becomes a badass detective and he shows his true talents. Basically, the whole game is just him either deciding he's on Connor's side or not on Connor's side. And I thought that was trash too, because I thought his character was awesome in the start, and I was really excited. And I also thought this game was really short. I thought, wow, for such a huge story and scope, it's such a short story. It is such a, like a little tiny story. And now here's the thing about the gameplay, in particular, the decision making. The decision making is bad in comparison to both other games, Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. There's so many times in this game where I wanted to think about the decision I was making, and instead you see this little thing running out, this little bar moving fast, and you have to make a decision like that. And it just made me make some wrong decisions on accident, too. And that pissed me off, because this game, although realistic, is supposed to be about choice. How can you make your actual choice if you're not even given the chance to see the choices, to make the choices? And so that really frustrated me at certain points. In particular, the part where he's supposed to shoot or spare the Tracys. I don't know what happened, but I shot them the first time. I shot her the first time, and it was a complete accident. And it pissed me the fuck off. I really was upset and pissed off. I was like, I didn't want to do this. What the hell? But it was really cool when I had to rip off the head of one of them and then show it to the other one in the evidence room in order to trick her into telling me. That was cool. Like, I wanted to see more stuff like that. Like, that was so cool. Everything with Connor was cool. Like, Connor's story is just epic. But then again, now here's the thing about the choice storytelling. The storytelling, quote unquote, where you can make the story yourself. It's bullshit. There was clearly one story that they wanted to tell, and every other choice they saw as an inconvenience, and like, you're gonna make that choice? Okay, then, I'm gonna make this sequence, like, 1 minute long. And, like, in particular, this recent playthrough that I did the second time, I wanted to make Connor a guy who completed his missions. No matter what, like, he's not trying to be evil, he's not trying to be good, he's just trying to complete his mission. And I wanted to do that, and then I wanted to have him kill Marcus, and then I wanted to have him realize, oh shit, like the humans are playing me, I'm gonna turn deviant now, and then I wanted to make him become the leader of Jericho. And I was not allowed to do that. And in fact, what happened was even worse than I wanted. Hank kills himself, which I don't know how the fuck that happened. That pissed me off. I didn't want to make that decision at all. And so, there you go. And then Connor basically tries to assassinate Marcus. And then, he just walks off after Marcus sacrifices himself and he says, mission complete. That is the stupidest shit I've ever seen. But you know what? From the way that it's executed, you can tell that they didn't want you to have to do that ending either. Because they thought that ending was stupid too. So that ending was 1 second. Oh, look, there's Connor. Bye-bye. The end. And so I was really disappointed by that, because with the other games from the studio, the choice making was really impactful. Especially with Heavy Rain, which, that game was so depressing that I couldn't even finish it. And, I'll have to try to finish it now after playing this full game a million times. Another thing about the game that I hated, well, I'll go to the I'll go to the stuff I like. Again, I love all the stuff with Connor. I love the detective gameplay. I love the acting from everyone. I mean, Kara, Luther, Alice isn't good. Oh, okay, here we go. I hated the twist with Alice, making her an android. It completely just undercuts all of the drama of the story, because the whole hook for me was that she was an android taking care of a human. And, is it possible that an android can love a human, can take care of a human, can become its mother? But then they make her an android, which is completely retarded, because it makes you think of a different perspective, which is, sorry, Alice is an android who wants a mother and a father. So basically, this whole game, she's been manipulating Kara into keeping her safe because she wants that mother figure. But the thing is that Alice is not a human. She cannot ever grow old. So she's always going to be the same age, look the same, act the same. She's not a person. These people, these androids that look like people, are not people. But the thing is that they do bring out emotion from triggering images Holocaust camp things, stuff like that. It still just does not really work for me, because they say that it's a malfunction in their software to where they're mimicking human emotions. Because the thing is that they have this self-destruct mechanism where they get overwhelmed with emotions. So that just completely, there's just so many plot holes. I really wish that the game was longer and that they focused more on making a story that made sense, instead of a story that was just oh wow, this is really emotional because it's like slavery, and people are gonna like it because it resonates with today for some reason. It's just stupid. My favorite part of the game, besides the mansion part, which I already talked about, is my favorite part is the boat ambush. And now I'm going to talk about something that pissed me off even more. The second playthrough, I played with Marcus and made him totally peaceful. And it really pissed me off when, at the end of the game, I did the, okay, I'm going to come talk to you we're going to have a dialogue. And then what happened? It was a negotiation. You either take a deal or you die. And I thought, wow, what a huge slap in the face. Like, the whole game, the whole story was building up to Marcus having a dialogue with somebody. And I mean, like, a complicated Professor X versus Magneto dialogue. And so I was really upset when that quote-unquote dialogue turned out to be, hey, I'm this slimy FBI guy, and you're gonna take the deal, mister. Like, that's what it was. That pissed me off because I was expecting more. I was expecting that to be a highlight moment of the game. Having a dialogue, having to make these complicated dialogue decisions that just branch out in a million different ways. Like, I was excited about that moment coming up. It never came, unfortunately. And now the thing is that I give things on this channel ratings. I rate things in terms of food. When I rate TV episodes, I give letter grades. But the thing is that with a game like this, they do the quote-unquote branch storytelling, which really they don't, because they wanted one outcome for everything. Just so you know. I mean, I could tell. I mean, they had these certain segments that were really, really long at the end. They had these other segments, and they're like 1 minute. And so you can tell from that they wanted you to do things. I don't like that. I think that that's cheap. I think that that's almost like a ripoff. It's like they're taking your money from you, stealing it, in my opinion, because if I wanted to play an evil playthrough, I want the same emotional impact that I would get from a good playthrough or another type of playthrough. You know what I mean? It just was not effective. In fact, I was pissed off the second time I played it, because the first time I was disappointed because of the disappointing story and the fact that the game was so short, but the second time I was disappointed because the outcome that I got was not the outcome that I was trying to get in the first place. And so in this case, it's really impossible to give this a food grade, because there's infinite options, quote unquote, which really there isn't, to tell you the truth. And so I'm going to rate this with a letter grade. I give Detroit Become Human a B. I would have given it an A+ if it had delivered that story that I thought it would, but it did not deliver a good story. It delivered a mediocre civil rights story with a couple of highlights, but yeah, I would still say play the game. I mean, it's an entertaining game. I mean, I played it twice. I can admit that. Another thing is, my last thing. Sorry. The menu Chloe. I loved the menu Chloe. Not only is she hot, but it was almost like a nice treat. Like, every time you come on the game, it's like, oh, there's Chloe, and she's like, hey, I hope you had a good day. Are you excited to continue the story? And then she does this funny thing where she's like looking around. It's really funny and cute. But there's this part where she offers you a choice. She's like, I've realized that I'm human. Will you let me go? Or will you force me to stay? And I'm like, oh, what? You're staying. You're not a human. You're a robot. Jesus. God. Get over it. You're a fucking robot. Just because you have fake skin doesn't mean you're a person. Ugh. And again, in the game, they clearly, to me, showed that they couldn't tell you what the truth is, because if they told you all the robots were robots, then you wouldn't be on the robots' side. And that would completely destroy the game, wouldn't it? So yeah, overall, I'm positive about this game. I just wanted to criticize all the stuff that bugged me while I enjoyed my playthrough. I enjoyed it, but then in the back of my mind, I had all these little things that I just wanted to discuss. I mean, maybe if I had somebody to discuss this with, I would be more positive, or I would come off as more positive. But yeah, I still really like the game. It is definitely the weakest of the three games. I mean, Beyond Two Souls is incredible. I mean, Willem Dafoe, he's perfect. He does an incredible job. Uh, that being said, with that game, I could feel the manipulation as well. Although, honestly, with that game, uh, it's more of a linear story. I mean, there's not really room to branch off, and so I love that game. I played it twice, and then Heavy Rain. I really liked some of it, but it was just so depressing that it was hard to play. It put me in a very depressed, uh, sad mood, and it was just hard. So, yeah, if you like this video, my first ever video game review, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share this video with all your friends and Android friends too. And yeah, so goodbye, everybody. See you soon.